How did I make it big? I know how. To play the game, I buy real estate, hotels, fancy cars, even railroads. And I take chances. To make it big, uh-oh, you've got to play the game. I'm Monopoly Dave.
Some game, huh?
Some game!
It's common knowledge that before Nintendo started their video game ventures with the NES, board games had existed for decades. Monopoly had released back in 1935, less than 50 years after Nintendo's conception. While it hadn't broken into board game territory, Nintendo built its foundation off selling Hanafuda cards in Japan. Prior to the release of the NES from 1965 up until that point, Nintendo had established itself in the North American market as a toy manufacturer. But along with these toys, they also created a slew of board games, so Nintendo understands the idea. This would eventually accompany the release of the Mario Party franchise. Mario Party was a very streamlined and accessible form of a board game for the masses, short and snappy with short minigames in between each round, as well as the chance factor with dice rolls and other factors which would pop up throughout the game. Even back in the day, Monopoly was criticized for its estimated length of how long games could take. But even then, Nintendo had an appreciation for the game and its monolithic status. So did Enix. While they weren't the original publishers of the series, after the first release in 1991, Enix became the main publisher for the Itadaki Street franchise in Japan, a series of board game video games that would span from 1994 to today. Over in Japan, this series is quite popular, but has barely seen any sort of release in the West, though its most prominent representation over here was Fortune Street for the Wii.
So, how are your finances looking?
Not bad. With my 401k, I could retire at 60.
60? Tragic. Property, stocks, and gold, gentlemen. It's where the real money is. I just bought a noodle shop. I'll be retired by 14. As you were, gentlemen.
Are you ready for Fortune Street? Control Mario and friends to buy properties, trade stocks, and build a business empire. Introducing Fortune Street, only on Wii. Rated E for everyone.
Huh. You know, that definitely feels like it came out amidst the Wii U generation.
I'm getting one of these.
If only Wii U stock still looked like that.
Mario and Peach together. Me and Gina together.
Fortune Street released here in the States on December 25th, 2011, and is actually a follow-up to a Japan exclusive version of Fortune Street for the DS, which we never got over here because I guess Nintendo hates us. The game involves various characters from the Mario and Dragon Quest franchises duking it out on a floating board in the sky. The main objective is to go around the board and buy properties. As you circle certain parts of the board, you will be given certain symbols or stamps or whatever you want to call them, and when you get these symbols you can trade them in for a reward. The game is about as streamlined to Monopoly as it gets, except the games do not take as long. The main objective is still to make everyone else go bankrupt as they land on your stuff. You can continually upgrade your properties over time with more and more money, where it will siphon more and more on the people who land on them. The game starts out quite slow, but actually does get pretty interesting later on. There's different aspects such as gambling with the lottery and different event spaces which will affect players in the game. The differences that this game shares compared to Monopoly is that players have to make round trips across the board to earn those special stamps for increased rewards to boost them and knock other players down. The game also features various board layouts themed after the aforementioned series in question. Different routes and shapes and lengths, all that good stuff. However, whenever I play this game, I just play it because it's fun and because it has Mario in it and it's Monopoly. It's on the Wii. If this game didn't have Mario involved at all, I would have never purchased it in the first place, but it's pretty good. I've never played on any of the Dragon Quest boards, if that tells you anything. But don't you worry your little head, this is a follow-up after all, so we gotta take a look at the original game for the Nintendo DS, only released in Japan. It's the same game. Granted, this version of the game does have noticeable differences compared to its Wii counterpart released years later. It looks worse, and it sounds worse, and I can't read anything. To be honest, while it is the same game as Fortune Street released on the Wii, it is pretty cool to see that they decided to make a portable form factor first, and then port everything and upscale it to HD for the Wii years later. I have tried to search for any kinds of translation mods for the game, and it seems there was a project at some point, though nothing's really come of it. And so, if you want to play Fortune Street on the DS, either learn to read or I don't even know. And that's Fortune Street, pretty much the only time that the series of Itadaki Street left Japan. And considering right now, it makes sense why it hasn't really returned, especially with a collaboration with Nintendo. Fortune Street released right at the very dead end of the Wii's lifespan, less than a year before the Wii U was supposed to come out, and so Nintendo was just pushing out a last couple titles with Mario's face on it to get at least a little bit of interest in the system left before the Wii U was supposed to come in. Considering how many console ports and stuff Monopoly has now, it totally makes sense this game hasn't come over here because it's nearly identical besides a few little things that they added. But it's still a pretty fun game. If you want to pick it up, first you gotta drop $30 or did you know it's really easy to mod a Wii? But in my personal opinion, the best thing that Fortune Street gave us was an orchestral rendition of Pipeline from Super Mario Bros. 3, baby!